right?
Nope.
Nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, welcome back. This is Molly with City Radio. We're here with Hassan Giordano tonight. Mr. Politics has been telling us everything we need to know about how to interpret the political world we live in, fortunately and unfortunately. Cortez Elliott's here also, and Tim Mercer. We just have a few minutes left, so on break we were talking about, you know, Republicans and abortion and
immigration,
white women and black men, and Baltimore City. So maybe if we could somehow try to get into that, like the real serious sort of issues that do go on in Baltimore City every day, and how maybe legislation makes changes in people's lives, some, you know, personal experience, if we could just focus on that. Now, I don't know what issues really matter to anybody right now, what they think about every day, what they, you know, tell me what the constituents were, for instance, in the 40th district, what their concerns were, what their, you know, their lives were like that you'd be hoping to represent, how, you know, how you could consider it unfair that, for instance, in the 41st district, there are two Jewish elected delegates that don't really represent the, you know, the full population in that way. Obviously, a lot of racial conversations to be had in Baltimore about Baltimore, but let's do it.
There's two candidates in the for the first one. They earned it righteously, and that's more than fair. The concerns in the 40th legislative district, which has been over the years, is jobs, and it's jobs in education. But jobs first, because you got to pay your rent to stay in your house or apartment, to send your child to KIPP, a segregated school. So jobs is priority. This is why I elaborated during the campaign about Hawkins Builders, who's in our community, over $200 million worth of projects, and hiring not so many people. I'm going to call Hawkins Builders and ask them to send a personnel representative down here so they can elaborate quantitatively on how many persons they are hiring out of the Park Heights community, given that they're doing over $200 million worth of projects in the community. When it comes to education, I continue to say to all of the persons listening that if we don't recognize that we send our children to a segregated school system, and then we take some control of that segregated curriculum, then nothing's going to change when it comes to the mortality rate and the way we treat each other on the streets. I want to thank Mr. Hassan for coming in here and sharing this evening with us and enlightening us on the things that he's been doing to empower his community and the greater Baltimore community. Cortez and Molly, I want to thank you two guys for collaborating with myself along the lines of trying to make this show informative to our audience every other week and make it informational so they can get some skills that'll be transformative in their lives. And thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just to piggyback on that, I just think it's important for people of color and people in Baltimore City, mainly millennials, to participate in this democratic process. I serve as the political chair of a nonprofit organization, a national organization, and I've seen the way they've galvanized people and had legislation passed within the city council. So I'm hoping that people in and around Baltimore will start to participate in some of this democratic process and join a civic organization and a community group so you can learn the way government functions and take those skills and take them back to your community.
Okay, so just for a question then, why do we suppose there aren't many Republicans in Baltimore City?
Well, you didn't answer the question.
What's the
You
question?
keep asking us all the questions. What's your insight? Don't you live in Baltimore?
I do.
So as a white woman in a predominantly black city, you've seen the politics, you've been here long enough, you know the players. What do you think about the politics of Baltimore and what's going on?
It's
in the
really
city?
very confusing to me how people even know whether they're a Democrat or a Republican. Honestly, it's like pop culture. I mean, I don't even think everybody should vote. What are they? How are they qualified enough to vote? It's all based on like popularity. Even sometimes, like I saw somebody's name and sign that I might have liked. Like I might not even be qualified enough, or I will ask somebody I trust and then base it on that. But I was asked to write an essay in American government class at Baltimore Polytechnic Institute. You know, why are you a Democrat or a Republican? I had no idea. I had no idea even how to find out why I would be one or the other. So I asked, you know, my grandmother, and she sort of helped me try to understand. And then, I mean, it's taken a long. You have to really be interested in it. You have to have an interest. So I can understand people voting their tax bracket. I can understand, I don't know, I can understand people voting for specific issues that obviously just sort of affect them, but my experience, first thing, I mean, I've been robbed at gunpoint by five guys, 2 guns. So talking about you know, an issue, like a guns issue, like that's my experience. It might be a little bit different. It's not necessarily intellectualized in some way. So everybody has their own, you know, way of relating to different issues. I never wanted to be like a white woman. It sort of sucks. If I had money, I'd feel it more. So I'm like, I'm not. Which of course is not true, but in Baltimore, yeah, like when people have thought of me as a white woman with money, I like don't like how that feels. It doesn't feel good. I don't want to be that person. So it helps, I guess, that I have tattoos and sort of had tried to sort of thrive in being like attached to the ghetto, even though I'm not, like, really. My father spent at least 8 years in prison, but my grandfather was the dean of plastic surgery at Hopkins. My mother and my grandmother have master's degrees from Hopkins. I don't know, it's just the opportunity that I have, I don't feel I've taken and run with, and I've seen other people have a lot less and do a lot more, so I don't really know. I think family is hugely important. I come from a broken home, and I would like to blame everything on that, you know, but just the heart that I know that black men in the city have, it just like makes me weep, because I don't know, it's not something that I can really understand, but for anybody to not try to understand it is wrong.
I agree with you. I'm gonna tell you something. You know, I barely know you that much, but you know I love you, period. But the deal is, I thank you for sharing that, because I didn't know it. And I want to say something. You know, it's not hard to find what line you get in when it's affluent line and a poor line. You know, you'll figure out which line you belong in very, very quickly. You know what I'm saying? Because it'll be clear to you. It'll be clear to you. Maybe you're talking about when you're black in that way. You know what line, because this is a class society, A, B, and C, and we can never ascend past B for the most part. In other words, this is a class society, sociology said. But you got to me there. But you're a good lady. I know that, Marley. I know you don't mean nothing but good across the board. But I guess the reason that I became a Democrat, you know as well as I do, most black people were Republicans before we was Democrats, you know, because we was Lincoln's party, you know. But just over the years we became Democrats mostly, you know. But the deal is because Republicans is the Southern Belt. And don't get me wrong, that's why we have a problem right here in Maryland. Maryland is below the Mason-Dixie line. It's still a redneck state. This is why periodically we get Republican governors. Okay, let's put this in the right perspective, because we aren't no straight up blue state. We're kind of purplish, you know, that kind of thing. But the bottom line, where it comes in at is when you start to, first of all, and you hit it, Marley, sympathy is something, whether you're blind, cross-eyed, or crazy, nobody wants sympathy. Nobody wants to be felt sorry for. You know what's wrong with you. But empathy is a sense of shared degree of sorrow. When you can share somebody else's degree of sorrow, then that's a jewel.
And I mean, let's be honest. And that's why I like this younger generation and this mindset in politics, because it's basically kind of allude to what you talked about, and which was a real answer. Which, when you get down gut level, people don't give a goddamn about politics or party. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. Both parties could care less about us, right? It's a game to them. And I think the older generation, our ancestors, used and followed politics because they had to. To them, it was, okay, it's either Democrat or Republican. Now, you see more and more people that was me forever as an independent. Only reason I became a Democrat is to run for that dumbass business. Excuse me, I don't know because of it. But that's it, because you can't run as an independent in this town and actually win, right? Then you got to get all these signatures just to get on the ballot as an independent, which Democrats set that rule up to make sure independents couldn't get on the damn ballot. So it's a game. It's about how do we keep power. And the Democrats and Republicans, as much as they act like they don't like each other, man, they sit in the same rooms together. I mean, the Senate chambers ain't got no Democrat, Republican on it, black, white. They all sit together. They all eat together. They break bread together. This is a hustle to them. And until America can wake up and realize it's not about party, it's about who's going to really represent my interests, the interests of what I went through as a person. Can they understand that, regardless of a party? Throw that to the side. As a human being, do you understand how to represent me? And when an issue comes up, how can you effectively be my representative? Because most of them are selfish. When an issue comes up, oh, I can't believe in gay marriage or abortion. I don't believe in that. Well, guess what? I don't believe in gay marriage. But if I'm a representative of thousands of people, many of them who do, then guess I'm not voting on my interests. I'm here to represent yours.
And that's fair.
So, that's what a lot of them don't get.
That's empathy. And I'm going to tell you something now. And you know I love you, brother, because that's what we are about. But the deal is, I didn't disagree with you 2 or 3 times. And I still got to disagree with you again when it comes to you saying that affiliation aren't that significant. Because I know for a fact that it is, along the lines of the way it is articulated, the impact that it has on our life. In other words, I would be remiss if I said affordable health care wasn't significant in our lives in the black community. I would be remiss if I said it wasn't important to anybody who had a pre-existing condition. We're born with pre-existing conditions, high blood pressure, cholesterol. We're born with pre-existing conditions. When you throw out pre-existing conditions, that put us in the healthcare ring. In other words, it was a time when we couldn't buy insurance. White people didn't get rich because they made that money. They got rich because that people could buy insurance. We couldn't. You with me? I'm telling you, that's just the way it is. There are distinguishing differences in the way you are recognized, treated, and regarded in this society.
But that's race. That ain't got nothing to do with party.
That's what I'm saying to you, sir. Let's bear witness to the party we got running this party now. Our president. Let's bear witness to what we bear witness to every day. We got a guy who has no ethics or morals. 32% of them supported throughout the United States.
Well, LBJ was a Democrat. He's one of the most racist damn people I've ever seen in my life.
But he had integrity.
I don't know about that.
I don't
know about that.
He had integrity.
He only did what he had to do. LBJ.
Lyndon B. Johnson? Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm telling you, Lyndon B. Johnson tried to carry on the legacy.
He probably was in on the JFK hit.
Right.
Well, he tried to carry on his legacy, so that could be. That's what he was charged with. That's what he was charged with. I'm telling you that when we don't recognize the difference between a Republican ideology and a staunch Democrat ideology, then we missing something. And I say that to say, I'm a bleeding heart liberal. I believe the government should support the human welfare. You know?
But that's not a party represent. So in other words, my thing is this: Donald Trump is a pure D idiot, right? He's a member of the Republican Party, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the Republican Party is exactly that. Because I can show you 20 Republicans that you would never in your life believe was a Republican, because they believe almost exactly the same way you do. They just happen to be registered Republicans because that's all they've known. Their mother was a Republican, their father was a Republican, and they kept on the Republican tradition. But they believe and they look just like you and me.
You know what I've never seen, Mr. Hassan? An ambiguous Republican. I never seen one that was ambiguous as to what they really were. You know, everyone I've seen was staunch.
Well, my thing is this: being a Democrat, Republican don't make me richer or poor. We got to get that. Party labels mean nothing when it comes to human lives and how you're going to live your life.
Mr. Hassan, our president moved the Israeli, what is the capital, to Jerusalem? You know how many lives been lost since he did it? The first day, it was 79 lives lost. He's got blood.
You know how many people Barack Obama killed with drones? I mean, do you really want to get into that conversation? I mean,
you didn't tell me you just switched over for the run.
I'm an independent. I mean, you want to be real about it. The president, you know, that's.
And Trump is a long-term Democrat.
Yeah. Exactly. Turned Republican. Exactly. I've never seen a party that allowed an independent to almost get their nomination when Bernie Sanders was an independent and then turned back to being an independent when he lost.
And he was turned back again
to run again.
But Bernie, you know where they put his vote at? He votes with the Democratic caucus. You know where they put his vote. Mr. Hassan, man, it was the first time and a pleasant time.
Oh, it was awesome.
I'll tell you something, I want to thank you for the legislation that you introduced to the City Council on the felons' right to get re-affiliated for voting. And I want to thank you for the legislation you said you hope introduced along the lines of the shared funds for elections. I think that's excellent offerings towards the end of the betterment of our constituency in the city. And you'll be commended for that, sir.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
In the weeks to come, we want to do some of the candidates that lost in the 40th legislative district in 2 weeks. And after that, we're going to do candidates who won in different districts, maybe the 40th or other districts. That is our objective for the next 2 weeks, next month rather, towards that end.
Yeah, and I just want to invite the listening and viewing audience to join our platform, AMN Global, on Facebook, or just use the hashtag across all social media platforms. I also encourage you to share the stream at www.RadioOnFire.com. And tune into this show. The next 2 episodes of this show will appear on the Radio on Fire platform on July the 23rd and September, or the first Monday in August. Whatever date that is, let me get you.
5th?
August the 6th. And if you want to be a guest on the show, just reach out to myself, O'Malley. Send us an email at alumnimarketingnetwork.com.
And we are diversified in the topics we talk about, and we hope to be holistic in any of the members that we invite to participate in the show.
As long as you're not a Republican.
We even welcome Republicans. Of course we do. In fact, we might do a show with some Republicans. I'd love to hear their ideology.
See you next time. See you next time.